getting into it. Those two guys are getting the majority of the reps. Two young guys are actually doing really good, but the older guys are sharing the reps with the ones and twos.
Do you have sort of a timeline in your head of when you'll name a starter?
I can't put a timeline on it until I know when it will happen, and I don't know that. So Jabari will end up playing two in the first game.
Mike, quarterbacks have good days, bad days.
Say it again.
Quarterbacks always have good days, bad days. How do you like the way they're reacting to those good days and bad days? Are they really doing good with that?
Their reactions?
Yeah.
Oh, they seem to be fine. Both of them are very competitive, and they have high energy, and I'm pleased with all that side of it.
What in particular are you most focusing on as you're weighing their performances?
Well, production. At some point, the team will start to migrate toward one guy. Doesn't mean the other guy's not a good player. It just means that the teams might subtly start migrating toward a guy, and they have to be productive.
Both guys give you a running element. Both guys can give you a running element.
Both guys are mobile enough to run the ball some, yes.
You had two other guys. You had four guys competing in the spring. Two of them transferred. Is that indicative that these two guys separated themselves
Well, I'm not sure. I think you would have to ask those other two guys that. Those are hard questions to answer in today's world.
You expect to use the opener as kind of a almost 50-50 platform for those two guys, and then go to Oregon feeling good about one, or do you really hope to have one identified about before opening up?
It wouldn't even be fair for me to give. I don't have any idea. I'm not even saying that we would be able to play two in the first game, and I'm not sure. But at this point, we don't have a guy that we would name the starter, so all options are on the table.
When's the last time you had this much uncertainty? I should have researched this. But at this point, before an opener, at that position,
Uncertainty
as to who your guy is.
last year, 2 years ago. You talking about quarterback?
Yeah. Well, I know
2 years ago.
So this is exactly like that?
It's the same, and we don't have. You guys know we don't have anybody that's thrown a pass in a game at this level. So there's a lot of uncertainty. Both guys are doing well, but they've got a long ways to go, and we're learning about them just as well as they're learning the system. I think they're well coached, and I think they're performing. I think they're competing, but it's unfair for me to say after 4 practices or however many practices we've had exactly what direction we would go.
I guess 2 years ago, I just thought Ballman was probably clearly kind of the guy, and what you wanted to see.
You talking about last year?
2 years ago.
No.
How different is that? Because you talk about how many new players you have. Guys haven't even practiced them. They don't know how you go about things. How different is that this season?
Well,
everything else?
what we're doing hadn't changed. The difference is what I had mentioned in Dallas, and was that you have approximately 34 new players that showed up right around June 1st, and they're out there practicing now. It's the first time we've ever seen them practice. And I'm guessing that 12 to 14 of those guys will be playing in the first game at some point. So that's what's different.
But you look at them. Obviously, one of your best players, but I guess it seemed like you've had a better insight on what you had probably in years past. So, are you more looking at them closer, or how do you to distinguish who's who and who's better? And so
Well, we had a better insight because they were on our team generally for more than 1 year. We had 12 of those guys that I'm talking about that showed up around June 1st are high school players. So that would have been a normal transition, would have been about 12 guys come, because you have 6 or 8 that show up in that semester. And maybe 2 out of that total 20 is going to even be on the field. And that's not where we're at now with the total number of mature transfers that you brought in. So we have guys that are in a position and they're physical enough and they're mature enough to play in the games. And, they were just here 8 weeks ago. That's where the change is.
With all that's new coaches, assistants, and players, are you more hands-on in any way during practice than you've been the last few years, or do it the same?
Meetings are different. Obviously, I'm having to coach them up to what I want, what I expect from them. But that's information I share with them and the coaches and the players at the same time, because there's an expectation from the coaches and the players in this culture. So there's a little more of a learning curve than what there's been because these guys are new, but ultimately, I'm very pleased with the coaching and the enthusiasm and the excitement from the coaches and what they've done at a very early stage.
What has Kevin Johns brought to that quarterback room?
Coach is very mature. He comes from a good background, comes in very, very highly regarded from people that I trust and understand. I might have mentioned this back in the spring or maybe even in Dallas, but that, interestingly enough for me, was that there were very few guys out there at that position that I felt like were capable of coaching these guys and doing it the right way. Very few, and it was hard. That was one of the hardest positions to find in this last search, and we were very fortunate that he was available.
Is that just through other coaches you know in the business to trust that he is capable of doing what you want to do? Like, how do you know when someone kind of meets the qualifications that you're looking for?
So I don't jump around and take jobs all over the country, so I only know really what's been here, or the young people that I've developed throughout my coaching career that now are working for me, that are close to being able to do that, but maybe not mature enough or experienced enough to do it. And then when you start doing research across the country to people you trust, looking for coaches at certain positions, that became a very, very difficult coach to find based on the total number of opportunities that were out there.
Is there something about Kevin that once you heard it or saw it in him that you thought, yeah, he's the guy?
What about it?
Was there something about Coach Johns that you sort of
Yeah,
either
so-
heard or saw that was
I don't-
like, yes?
Yeah, well, I mean, his pedigree and his background is good for what he's done, right? He's called plays. He's been a coordinator. He's handled his own position. He's very experienced with quarterbacks. And so then just me personally, I have to do the research with people that know him and have worked with him, and then players that have played for him and how they felt about him and whether that they improved during the time that he was coaching them.
Why is it hard to find a quarterback coach, Mike?
Not very many of them out there that I trust. Maybe it's because I might know a little more about that position than I do maybe linebackers or defensive line, but and that could very well be the answer to that question, but there just wasn't very many guys. When I started calling around and asking about guys, there were about 2 or 3 of them in the country that I thought would be capable of doing it.
You mentioned in past fall camps, you sort of entered with a better idea of who your two deep is. Does it make it tougher, not just to evaluate the quarterbacks, to evaluate everybody when you have so many different competitions going on at the same time?
Not really. Each coach is responsible for that. You know, we have 2 coaches at every position, and at some positions we have 3 coaches. So they're more than capable of identifying the players who continue to be productive and buy into the culture and do things that it takes for us to ultimately win games.
Returning to the quarterbacks, given you were in this spot 2 years ago, what were some of the challenges of taking a quarterback battle into September, and how does that inform perhaps how you go about this now, this next month and a half?
I'm not sure what you're asking me.
What were the challenges, I guess, 2 years ago of taking a battle into the season, and does that experience inform how you go about doing this 2 years later?
So the easiest thing to do would be have a veteran returning starter. You know, Patrick Mahomes is coming back. He's the guy. Everybody knows he's the guy. 2 or 3 guys are working for the second team job and a third team guy and a practice squad guy. So, you know, the years that Zach was here and Whedon was here and Rudolph was here, Spencer was here. So that makes it a much easier transition based on total number of reps. You can allocate 65% to this guy, 40% to this guy, and X number to this guy whenever we have the opportunity. And that's the real challenge is the good news about where we're at now is there's plenty of reps for 2 guys. When you have more than 2, then you cut into guys really have an opportunity to improve and get better, in my opinion. The difficult part of it is you really want to keep those 2 guys healthy.
guy like Zane, even though he hasn't thrown a pass, but he's been here for a couple years, does that help him, or because you've changed the staff around a little bit, does that kind of negate the fact that he's been here?
I think they both started at the same spot. There's a lot of similarities what we're doing now with Coach Meacham. A lot of what he's doing is what we did when he was an assistant here, and before. Then when he came back, there's some similarities there, but not enough to actually help in a carryover from a communication stage to those guys.
Mike, offensive line's a spot where you've got a lot of new faces. How is that depth chart rounding out? Are you starting to sense who your starters are, how many guys you could potentially play on the offensive line?
They're playing quite a few of them there. It's a big number of transfers that came in there, mature guys, so you got to evaluate them, and in most cases should be able to get to a 2 deep. When I looked at the schedule that day, you would think at those positions you'd be able to get to a 2 deep around the 20th of August. That way it gives you a week to practice and get ready to start the season.
How does it look with the two guys you've got committed to coaching?
Who's that?
The two assistant, Mitchell and Bassett. To have
Oh, yeah, and Garner. Those guys have been awesome. Grant Garner and Mitchell and Bassett, they've done a great job. I mean, as I said earlier, I'm very pleased with what we're doing from a coaching standpoint.
Who are your best players?
Not sure.
Do you have any?
I don't know that we know.
Does that feel odd? Feels odd to me.
Yeah, well, yeah, it does.
I don't know
Just because
either.
you don't have, you're back to, a major transition of total number of people. So, you don't necessarily know who your best players are. It's not like you're coming back with a guy like Ollie or Spencer or Marcel Aitman, or Victor or any of those guys. So, Grant Garner.
What does Grant do for you?
He's coaching offensive line.
Right, but I mean, is he committed to coaching it up at the center position, or?
No, they're dividing it up. I'm watching them. They've got guys split up, and I don't think he's been zeroed in on the middle part of it. Because, he's been coaching offensive line for about 8 or 9 years down there, Mississippi, coaching all of them.
Mike, with the staff, you touched on it some, but what is the process with a totally new group of kind of getting them up to speed with how you want to run your program, run practices, everything like that? And then as a follow-up, do you learn some new things from them because they have been to other places?
Oh, yeah, you learn lots. There's a real advantage to bringing in a bunch of new guys because they have a wealth of experience and knowledge. They've been other places, and so I have to watch and coach them on the run. I had an advantage because they were here in the spring. So a lot of things that maybe I wanted to do different or I felt like should be done different, those discussions were all taking place. When we got started a few days ago, I had a good feel for it. When we got started in the spring, I had no idea what we had. So, but I have learned a lot from them and different things and ideas about the way to go about the process and getting the team ready for the first game. So it's been an advantage from that standpoint.
Does that get you sort of excited just to have kind of a
Sure.
new outlook from different places?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been energizing for me. Once you get through the the part that we've gone through in the off season, now we get to coach football and play football. Contracts are the coaches all have contracts, players all have contracts. So the renegotiating takes place in January. Now we get to the fun part. We get to coach football, get back to actually feels like normal college football.
Well, you've seen out of Jaleel Johnson. I remember they were freshmen. You talked about him and Deshaun Brown. Thought they had frames that could be pretty good.
They're developing, coming on. Jarrell, I looked at it, he's bigger now. He's 265 now, 6'5", 265. Deshaun's gotten quite a bit bigger. He's up to 280. So they're maturing, they're getting older. It's time for those guys to make plays. They've been in this system now for a number of years. And the history of our culture is, and those guys start to get to where they're at in their careers when they should start making plays. Now, both of them have been beat up and were injured at times last year, and up to this point they're healthy, which is a good thing.
Back at Big Media Days, you talked about about the uncertainty of your feeling about your depth chart and starting jobs. Are you any farther along at this point now?
No.
Just a few people?
I mean, the uncertainty is not knowing. I mean, I'm not concerned. There's a bunch of guys can run around out there and make plays. The talent level's fine. The uncertainty is, going into work in the morning and not knowing exactly what's going to happen. That's the uncertainty. But the uncertainty with the coaches is not there. The uncertainty with the ability is not there. The players have been excellent. We've had to mold a few of them over the summer. It's been different, but they get in. They get in line. They fall in order, and that's been fine. So we just have to watch. We put them in positions, and we just have to watch, and they'll tell us who deserves to play in the games.
Mike, when team players enter the transfer portal, they're expected to make an impact right away. Have you been impressed with what these guys, these newcomers, have, the progress they've made from week one? There's no feeling out there yet. They have to make that impact right away.
Well, there's young transfers and there's old transfers, right? So we have quite a few transfers that are freshmen, and so they're still freshmen. The ones that come in that have been somewhat competitive at our level or a level below us for a couple years are the ones that you would hope that could come in and impact your game. 20 plays a game, 50 plays a game, maybe, depending on their talent level. But we have quite a few young guys that are really still in a developmental stage. They're just essentially a redshirt freshman.
Mike, on the older transfers list, you probably have to put Bob Schick on your offensive line. I mean, we've had these super seniors coming along, but now they're starting to phase out. But he's a guy that I think he's 25. Like, how does his not only experience but age factor into things?
Yeah, we've got quite a few. Somebody had mentioned the offensive line earlier. We've got quite a few guys there that are mature that have transferred in at that position, and so those guys are showing their experience and they're showing their maturity. The thing that you get concerned about now, what I've found is, COVID gave these guys all an extra year, and then essentially from that year up to now, anybody that filed a waiver with the NCAA could get another year if they wanted. Whatever they wanted to say, they had an allergy problem, they could get another year. And so we ran into these older guys, and the issue one thing you concern yourself with is their bodies, because it's tough. In the world they live in, it's a very physical game, and so we have taken some of that into account with these veteran offensive linemen.
Coach, talk about some of the veteran transfers that you have, and one of those guys would be that you expect to have immediate impact after having impact at a smaller level. What can you say about Terrell Davis and what he's shown you this summer?
He's done really well. He's, I would say he's exceeded my expectations just based on my history, and he's very mature. I think he's comfortable because he's from right down the road. It was an easy transition for him. He was able to get in here in the summer and work and train with Coach Glass, and he took advantage of it. And he seems to be picking up the game and our system quickly. And at this point, and we've only been in shoulder pads a couple days, but at this point he seems to, it looks like he's going to hold up physically. And if he can do that over the next 10 days, then he'll be in position to help us win games this fall.
You said in Dallas you plan to run the ball a lot, got a lot of running backs, different sizes, different styles. How many of those guys you think you'll play?
Well, yeah, we have to be able to run the ball. I mean, we've always rushed the football, and years that you have success, you rush the football, and so we're going to work hard to run the football. And fortunately, as of right now, we have a number of guys that we're comfortable with that we feel like can rush the football in the game.
Mike, is there a specific position group that's really been impressive for you so far this week that you've seen?
I mean, as I said earlier, the coaches have been really good. The players have been really good. The one interesting thing about where we're at now at Oklahoma State, I don't know where everybody else is, but when you have as many new players as we have, you really don't have a culture that just starts into fall camp and just takes care of itself like we've had here for a long, long time. But the other thing that I think that seems to be an advantage is these guys understand that they're being paid very well, and that their contracts in the future are based on production. You know, that's the one thing that we've all expressed concern about. I say we all, I'll speak for myself as a coach in college football, is that guys that are productive get new contracts next year. Guys that aren't productive don't get new contracts next year. And not only that, they lose their education, because that's the game we're in now. And so just watching and not knowing, but just watching what's happened, it's a very, very competitive environment.
If there's a recruit you consider special, right, and you really would like to see him stick around for a while, is there any consideration to multi-year contracts for somebody like that?
I think all of that's under consideration. Kenyatta can help you with that. I would hate to speak toward that because I don't have enough knowledge on how that works. I just figured out the 105 and the DSAs, how that works, and I'm still confused on that. I didn't know that those guys could play a year and not count against you, and they can for multiple years, actually. So I'm still learning the process of a lot of this, but I would venture to guess that if we had young players that were very talented, and or a young player that came in on a one-year deal that was productive, and we, in our opinion, we say this guy is going to be a good player at this level, I would guess that Kenyatta would try to sign him to a multi-year deal.
So Brandon Pettigrew is 40 years old now, which just jarred me.
He's how old?
40. So I just thought, holy smokes. And then
Yeah.
I started thinking, this is Mike Gundy's 40th year of college football. 40 years.
Mhm.
So had that occurred to you that you hit, because like you've been around it so long now, like every year's a milestone, kind of some sort.
Right.
Last year, 20 years as a head coach. This year, 40 years college football. So had you thought about that? And if I told you when you got into this business that you'd still be doing it 40 years in?
I would have said no. I think anybody that thought when you took the job as a head coach at Oklahoma State in football, when I did, that nobody would have thought, whether it was me or anybody else, it would have lasted more than 5 or 6 years. At that time, we had a lot of things that we had to overcome in order to be successful. And we had some things work to our favor and to our advantage, and we worked through it. And we got established after a while as a national brand from coast to coast, and then it worked to our advantage. But, you know, the good thing is that I've been very fortunate from a health standpoint, and my energy level is high, if not higher than it's ever been. And I mentioned this, somebody had brought it up in Dallas, you know, and I had referred back to Coach Stoops that, you know, he said, whenever you get ready to get out of the game, you'll know it. And so I haven't known that yet, but I do at times now catch myself adding up years, and I have to use my fingers to do it. And because I was visiting with one of my sons the other day about it, and I told him I'm approaching 40 years. And when I first went out of recruiting in 1991-ish, 92-ish, I would go into high schools, for example, Bristow, where Bill Scott was, you know, and I'd go in, and I knew he'd been coaching a long time, and I'd say, Coach, how many years you been coaching? It's 38 years, and I'd be like, there's no way I'll ever be coaching 38 years. When I'd go to up there to Harmon, Coach Harmon up there at, yeah, and he said, yeah, I'm at 41 years or whatever, and I'd go, oh my gosh, 41 years. But it goes fast, so, but I've been very fortunate to be here.
Whether it's 10 years from now or 5 or 2 or whatever, Well, what do you want to do after this? Do you want to take a TV gig? Do you want to, like, maybe become part of a governing body that fixes college football? What do you think you'd like to do?
Hopefully, before I decide or somebody decides that I'm not doing this, hopefully college football will be in a better place. That's what I would hope for. If so, but if not, I think it needs to be put in a better place. If whatever I could do to help, I'd be willing to help. I have a good plan for it. I don't think anybody will listen, but I can fix it. But regardless, I'm going to guess that eventually I'll probably get into television.
I mean, I'd be an idiot if I don't ask, how would you fix it?
How would I what?
How would you fix it? What would be the first step, or the first piece to fixing college football? Is it just
You need a commissioner. You got to get one person in charge, and they got to get the 4 power people in one room, and they all got to start talking about equality and how can we revenue share across the country, and we can follow the NFL pattern, okay? And if you're not going to make them employees and collective bargaining, I get it, but how are we going to fix it? That's just the way I see it. I'm going to say it, and I said it again. You can't have a group that's getting all this money and a group that's getting all this money and then expect people to want to watch television when one of those teams plays one of these teams. And I think eventually, if they don't fix it, it's going to be difficult for people to actually really want to watch college football. And you guys know this. My buddies back home want it fixed. I grew up with. They'll tell me that. They'll say, the only reason I watch is because you're the coach. Otherwise, I don't watch games anymore because I don't even know who's playing on the teams. We've got to get out of that somehow. So we could talk about it for 3 hours, but there's a solution to it, and there's got to be a give and take. But until one person's in charge, there won't be a lot of give and take. Like the CSC is scary right now, right? That they just put together. I mean, what power do they have? They've already been sued. So, but the good news is this, like I told the coaches and players, that's over with. We get football now. We get to coach football and play football. That's the good stuff.
2 more questions, we'll get to players.
Mike, your secondary looks like, I don't have any idea if these guys are going to play a lot for you, but just the stars coming out of high school, the high rankings, you've got a lot of guys that look like they probably upped the athleticism in your secondary. What does that look like in real life?
A lot of guys. I was just visiting with Kenyatta about that this morning, and there's names, there's guys that are just starting to come on. And we really need about 7 guys to play those 5 positions. Anything above that's a bonus. And some of those guys are just adapting and learning our system, and I can see where they're playing faster. But the one thing that I am excited about is when they're in one-on-one coverage drills, they're highly competitive and have been very successful. So that's a good sign.
Are you going to take steps to tackle better this year? The tackling was not very good last season.
Yeah, we did a lot of things last year that weren't very good, and at one point we lost the best defensive players on our team. That hurt our tackling. For example, we had Obi playing last year 70-something plays a game at 231 pounds. We brought him in to back up Colin Oliver and play 20 plays a game. At 231 pounds, he gave us every single thing he had, but he wasn't big enough and strong enough and physical enough to play 70-something plays a game, and he had to the last 3/4 of the season. Those things start to show up in a big way. Tackling is something we talk about all the time. I'm guessing you could tour the country and talk with coaches, and they would tell you that they worry they don't get to tackle enough, and that they would probably tell you they worry they tackle too much because they don't want to get somebody hurt. The other interesting thing now, Barry, is so you want to tackle enough to be able to tackle in a game. Like Coach Parcells said one time, don't expect to tackle good in a game if you don't tackle in practice. And don't expect your players to play hard in a game if you don't practice hard. I don't think there's any more truth to that than anything's ever been said. But now you're tackling guys that are making $1 million a year. You kind of want those guys to get out there and play. I mean that's really a part of what we do now. We never thought about it that way, but now there's guys getting tackled out there that are making a bunch of money, and you're like, ugh, there's a lot of money invested in those guys. We need to get them out there and play. So we address tackling, we practice it. I do believe this, and watching it for a long, long time, I think that the best tackling teams are going to be the most athletic teams, and teams that would be in the middle of the row from an athletic standpoint. Then what you mentioned, the time that we spend teaching it and working on it in a manner that can actually help them on game day is going to be very, very important, and we're doing that.
Thanks, guys. We've got players ready.
Got it.
Yeah, I didn't say.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Excuse me.
I